Hey, we're here. This is our first episode of Spotlight, and we decided that we're going to either highlight an actor or a director each week, and we're just going to go through their filmography and tell you why we love them as an actor and how they've inspired us in one way or another to be film students and just kind of helped us fall in love with this medium.
Mhm.
So today, starting with the man that's behind a certain someone, a little creepy in the side there, Robert Pattinson. Now, you're like, oh no, the guy from Twilight. We're not even going to talk about Twilight. We haven't seen it. Don't no interest in seeing it. We have better things to do with our time.
Robert Pattinson isn't interested in seeing them in music.
Exactly. So we're going to start off with a famous franchise that I don't think many people heard about. Maybe you read the book, probably not. Harry Potter. uh, could you, Nick, talk about him a little bit?
Yes, for those who don't remember, he was a part of the fourth Harry Potter film, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. For those who don't know the story of this particular part of the franchise, there's this huge tournament at the school, and like Harry Potter, he plays Harry Potter's classmate Cedric Diggory, and Cedric is like the one chosen to represent Hogwarts alongside Harry. And it's a small bit. Like I was like going through the film, and like he's actually in it not a lot, but he still managed to be like a very like charming, down to earth. Like Cedric Diggory is like written in the film to be like the classic like cool top like a top tier character and like the social like spectrum at Hogwarts, but he has this very like down to earth like boyish quality. And I mean, given that this was his biggest role other than his Twilight ones, it's the most respectable of the two. And I think he's charming. It's not a lot to say because it is a short role, but he managed to be charming. There's a funny behind the scenes video where he forgets Emma Watson's name. Like he can only remember her as Hermione. It's so funny, or the other way around, but it's really funny. He's charming there.
Wow, he almost sounds like he'd be perfect for Thor. But
Yeah, I guess
that's that's besides the point.
it's
Go
another
check
video.
out our fan casting of the original Avengers if you want to hear more about that. But anyways, I don't remember the film very well, so I'm not
Mhm.
too big or small on it. I just remember he was kind of in it, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
But he went in this phase of his career after Twilight and Harry Potter where he decided he was going to build his reputation back up. Because he was the kid from Twilight and Twilight movies, while being very successful at the box office and doing a good job at being what they're supposed to be as films. They aren't necessarily critically acclaimed or well received. So he had to build up his reputation, and what he did is he went into and did a bunch of small indie films because he had these big films that he had, you know, gotten the I can't speak for him necessarily, but those
Yeah.
movies made a lot of money for him, I assume,
Mhm.
and gave him that ability to go and do years and years and years of independent filmmaking. And he made some, not made, but he was a part of and acted in some fantastic indie films. And we're starting off with one called Good Time. Now, Good Time is directed by the Safdie brothers, who have also directed Uncut Gems. It is an anxiety film. It's like an anxiety attack. It takes place in 24 hours. This guy essentially, with his brother, they rob a bank, and then everything goes wrong. And it's just you're following this character played by Robert Pattinson through those 24 hours. Um, so that's kind of what the film's about. Nick, would you like to start off with what your thoughts are of Robert Pattinson in the film?
Robert Pattinson like drives the movie, and I know like it's easy to say that for like any actor in every movie and any movie, but like it is all on Robert Pattinson. The plot literally moves with him, and like Henry said, like this is a movie about like just this guy who has to who like solves a problem only to wind up in another problem. It's the whole cycle, and his character is he reaches such levels of like sheer like desperation, but he never like shows it in a way. Like he's still scheming, he's still trying to figure it out, even though like by the end of the film, like everything's so stacked against him. And he like transforms in this movie. He really does. It's like he completely throws himself in this role of this like of this criminal who's just has to keep solving problem after problem, and it's so crazy to watch. He's absolutely insane in this movie.
Yeah, I think it's an Oscar caliber performance, and part of my thinking behind that is he kind of epitomizes what it means to be a lost soul, and just like someone who, you know, whether it's someone who's a drug addict or just is doing something wrong repeatedly, and you just feel like this person is almost beyond repair. There's this like level of tragicness to the person's life. You know, they try and fix one thing and two more go wrong, and that's what happens to him in this role every single time. And it's an Oscar caliber performance because he just, every single thing, you buy him doing it, you buy his motivation behind every little thing. A lot of it is just him being quiet because it's all about him and it's him going through. You can't talk to yourself in a film.
Yeah.
It'd throw you out of the movie. So a lot of it is just in expressions and mannerisms and physicality. And like, I know as a film student looking upon this film, there's so much to appreciate from that point of view of how much of a story can be told if you have the right actor or actress, without saying any dialogue, just by, you know, walking around a park. Like, how do you walk around the park? It's the little things that create how a character moves and interacts with the real world
You,
that really make him so fantastic in this
yeah,
film.
he, like I said, he really did utterly transform into this movie. You don't see Robert Pattinson, you see, uh, I think the protagonist, his name is Connie. Like you only see Connie. He is just like this, yeah, this, I, gosh, like he's this just built up figure of like energy and um, he just, yeah, as Oscar caliber. Why he didn't get nominated? Maybe because it was an indie film and just none of the voters saw it, which is unfortunate because it's like one of the best films of that year. And yeah, it's such a crazy good performance. I think that was the performance that everyone like really realized like, oh shoot, this guy has something going on. This guy has it in him.
Yeah, and I think it definitely pushed his career back to the point where not necessarily like people in the real world knew who he was, who were outside of Hollywood, but I think people in Hollywood were like, oh snap, he can really act. And people are like, well, he wasn't that good, he didn't get an Oscar nomination for it. But what people don't understand is how much money is put into Oscar movies and getting people nominations. And you have to do like tours with different people, you have to do a bunch of Q&As. And some studios just can't afford to do that. They don't have the money, or they don't want to risk that money and not get the nomination. Because if you don't get that nomination, what's that money worth? You don't have people going to see your film again on demand or on a streaming service. And you just wasted money. But the performance itself, pretty fantastic. Now, moving on, this is one you haven't been able to see yet. I have. It's called The High Life. It's about it's a sci-fi film. It's a father and his daughter struggle to survive. They're in like deep space, and they're like living in isolation. And the story's told in a back and forth manner. It's not really clear what's going on, and the father is with a daughter who is like a very young child, like a baby to maybe a very young toddler. And so a lot of it for large parts of the film is without anything being said. And it's bringing Good Time to the next level of just acting through your, like what you do rather than how you say something or how you interact with other people. He's able to do something that's just by himself. And he goes through all these little moments, and it's a very kind of like poetic film, and it lives in the quietness of himself, and it shows how good he can be in a quiet role, I'd say. And I think it's kind of artfully done. There's this really great arc to it, about how, you know, you kind of get a little bit of his backstory as it goes on. And I think the ending especially is something that's really powerful in the film. I'm trying not to spoil the film because it's not like a film that a lot of people have seen, but it's definitely worth
Right.
checking out. And it's very real and organic in the way it treats a relationship with a father and a daughter, and how someone may struggle with that given their situation of being alone on a spaceship, not knowing where you're going and everything's gone wrong. And kind of like this, and by putting him in that situation, it deals with like the greater idea of what it means to be a father that's like struggling with other things in their life and has to do all these different things and can't necessarily be there for their kid and raise their kid like they want to. And there's this beautiful symbolism that comes from that film and that he helps really bring out in the film from his performance. So moving on from that, we have The Lighthouse. I haven't been able to see this film yet. It's pretty wacky, I've heard. But Nick, you saw the film. What are your thoughts on it, and what are your thoughts on his performance?
I think it's probably one of the best films of 2019. It is just screenplay and direction and cinematography. It is an extraordinary film, only made extraordinary by the fact that its main cast is Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson, two of the greatest actors like working today. And this was my first like serious Robert Pattinson film that I'd seen. I saw Good Time at a later point, um, and I was so impressed. I wanted to go see The Lighthouse because by that point everyone knew that Pattinson was casted as Batman, and there was there was like so much like confusion over why like the guy from Twilight is Batman, and I was like, I want to see what the people who defended him or are defending him, what's he like, and he is really really good in this film. This is another Oscar caliber performance. Why he wasn't nominated, I don't know, but it's just because it's a story about, to keep it non spoilers, it's a story about insanity, and it's basically about and like Pattinson's character is just very guarded and intense, and you see him um, like he's both a character who's been around the block a few times, but he's also a character who like as a new lighthouse keeper has no idea like of the environment he's in, and just through that, it's a really like engaging performance. And then later when stuff gets wacky, as you said, things like hit the fan, he goes absolutely nuts in the role. And though for his screen partner to be Willem Dafoe is just like you got to bring your A game, and he brings his A plus game. It is like a very like angry and energetic and like crazy performance with also this kind of like sadness and like almost like you feel pity for him in a way, and it's just this powerful like just acting. Like he is in your face all the time, and he goes from like 10 to 100 over the course of the film, and by the time you get to the end he's just like you're exhausted because you've been on this like you have been on this emotional trip with him, and it's a incredible performance. He's so intense, and he's so like just effective in the role. So and yeah, he kills it. Oh my gosh, he kills it.
Yeah, that's some pretty high praise for the film. So let's move on to Tenet, which very recently came out. A lot of people haven't had the chance to see it due to the whole coronavirus situation.
You saw it though. Check out our
Yeah,
review.
yeah. Go check out the review of actually check out the non-spoiler part of the trailer review. Just don't go into the spoiler territory because it's a film you want to watch for yourself. But let's talk about him in this film. Now, I think he's pretty great, and I think in some ways he is what pushes the film forward
Mhm.
as far as keeping it engaging. But what are your thoughts overall before I get more in depth?
Well, this was Pattinson's big like return to like blockbuster movies even before Batman, and he really like surprised me just because like I said, going from like Harry Potter and Twilight to Good Time in the Lighthouse. I expected more of his roles to be in like the more like emotionally intense and raw and like almost like taboo type roles. So to see him return to like this blockbuster role was very entertaining, and like Neil, that's his name, right? Character's name.
Yeah, I believe
Right.
so.
As Neil, like I wasn't sure what to expect, like how they were gonna write the character, but he was honestly very charismatic. He was so different from Good Time, from Lighthouse, from what you said about High Life, different from there. He's just like he has a very James Bond like wit and energy, like effortlessly cool, very like he's always got a solution to something, and he also has some like emotional like moments thrown in there. I'm thinking of like the end of Tenet to like not keep it spoiled, like that last scene
Yeah.
between him and John David. Like he's such um he's like such a good friend of a character, and he's also such a like charming, like witty character. And I was like, oh, like not only can you do like crazy and intense, you can also do like you can be that suave, like charismatic force. And there are times where I don't know, he just also like carries himself in action scenes is the most action intense of the films we've mentioned so far. I think even compared to High Life. So to see him also like doing crazy like action stuff, and like if you've seen the trailers, like rewinding through time, um, I really enjoyed his performance. That was a standout for me, especially against like all the other established actors there.
Yeah, I agree. And we'll touch on the point of charisma more at the end because I think that's more of like a thing overall looking at his career. Um, but I think emotionally he carries this film, and you hit upon the end. The end is, I think, what makes me like the film versus what makes me not like the film. Is there's something very touching to how he phrases the ending of his character arc in the film, and it's the way he performs that last in the last scene, the lines of dialogue, um, that makes me feel for that character so much, and I think that boosts the movie up. And I think he really helps a movie within his performance, and I think that's something that's notable from every film he's in. He finds a way to step up and then take it to another level. And a script can be great, but he takes it, a great actor takes it beyond the script and makes it even better, and that's what makes a great film.
Right,
and
100%.
and he does that. And I think there are moments where, like, the scene where it's in the trailer, so we're not spoiling it. It has something to do with a plane, and he's talking about his plans for a plane.
Hmm.
The way he describes that scene, and just like the fun he brings to it,
Yeah,
for the lack of a better term, and the energy he brings to that, it's just like when you have someone who's playing the straight man, like John David Washington is, who's kind of like very serious,
hmm,
to have someone who can be more fun and flexible, kind of like Thor, in a way. Uh, just another dig, but
uh-huh.
he
Yeah,
really has some quality to him as an actor that's pretty spectacular.
right. That like playful aspect of Neil is so different from Connie or Winslow is his character's name in The Lighthouse. And it's not even like, oh well, he just went to the other side of the spectrum. Like no, it was like a nuanced like he wasn't just like playful for the sake of playful. Like there was like an integral aspect to it. So you know again, like you just all over the spectrum, and has been convincing like everywhere he's gone.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to move on to the last film, which I've been able to see. I know you're watching, actually pretty soon.
Right.
The Devil All the Time. And in this film, he plays a preacher, and that's as much as I'll say without spoiling what happens. But there are some scenes where the charisma and the energy he brings on this are like the best of his career. I don't necessarily think this is the best performance he gives. I think it's a good performance. I think the only thing I can knock him on is maybe his accent in this film.
I was gonna ask that because I know that's been like that's been the most discussed part of his thing, of his
Yeah,
performance there.
yeah. And in another film that we didn't really talk about, did you see The King with Timothy Chalamet?
I've seen clips of him. I haven't seen it yet. It's on my list though, but I've seen clips of him in his French accent.
Yeah, which is interesting. I think is the best way to put it. But it's almost something that gets theatrical the way he performs sometimes. It's almost he can act the art. I believe it's The King. It's a film starring Timothy Chalamet that he's in. That he plays a French prince, I believe, or king. I can't remember off the top of my head. But he brings this larger than life energy that he also brings to the devil all the time as a preacher, that I think you don't really see from a lot of actors. And it's pushing the boundaries of almost being theater and kind of overemphasis, but he knows how to walk that line where it's like it's still really really entertaining, and he can do that in a creepy way or in a really like fun way. And I think that's one of the things as an actor that is great about him, is his range. But I don't want to go too much into it because I don't want to spoil the film. We'll have a spoiler review out on the film soon, so go check that out when it happens. But we're going to move on to our final thoughts of Robert Pattinson as an actor. Nick, do you want to start?
I'm sure I can. When I found out he was cast as Batman, I wasn't necessarily I was on the crowd who was like, what the heck, why, because I haven't seen, like, they were like, why is the guy from Twilight here? Like, I haven't seen Twilight, so I couldn't be sure. But it was also like, I just knew nothing about this guy, and this was like early 2019, and like now a year later, I am like the biggest fan of this guy. I think he's just honestly the most, like, one of if not the most exciting talent, like emerging talent in Hollywood right now. We talked about, we kind of touched on this like a while back in one of our earlier videos about how Robert Pattinson's like role choosing is like specific and almost like always on point. Like he knows exactly what he wants. He knows exactly what he wants to do, and he's always excelled in all of it. And he's such, again, a versatile actor. He's playful as Neil. He's crazy as Winslow. He's similarly intense and like driven in High Life and Good Time. And like I can't wait to see what he does next. Like the Batman, I'm so glad people are realizing what he's done with his career now that he's been cast as Batman, because it's honestly such an exciting career. And the thing that always impresses me the most is his in a way his accents. Like I know the King and Devil all the time are like are can be considered like exaggerated, but even like his New York accent in Good Time too is more
Yeah.
like older way of speaking in the Lighthouse. Like it's so convincing and it's so real and it so adds so much to the performance. And he reminds me a lot of another Batman actor, Christian Bale, and that they're both
Mhm.
just chameleons, just switching in and out, and they're just so effective at it. And the Batman comes out next year. It's one of my most anticipated. I think it is my most anticipated movie of 2021, and so I can't wait for everyone to be like, oh shoot, like Robert Pattinson is legit now. Like I'm just glad he's getting the spotlight he deserves.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I think his versatility as an actor is what puts him in that. In my opinion, I'd already put him in that top tier of actors that you want in any movie you make. Just because of that, he can do anything you need him to do. I think as an actor, he loves a new challenge, and anything he sees as a new challenge is what he wants to do. And that I think that mentality and that urge to constantly pursue something new is what makes him really exciting when he chooses the roles he does. An interesting fact is he could have been in Guardians of the Galaxy. I believe he was. They asked him to play Star Lord, and
Yes,
he
I
decided.
recall reading about that. Yeah.
And he decided. He said, "No, I'm not quite ready for this role. I don't want to do it yet." And now he's playing the Batman, and it's really interesting how he finds something that is different that he has never played before, and he finds as a challenge. And that's what keeps him constantly new as an actor. You're always liking the different stuff he does. He doesn't get typecast because of that, because I think a lot of actors struggle because they get typecast, and all of a sudden 15 years into their career they're used to only playing one type of character, and that's what makes him so interesting. So with that, those are our thoughts on Robert Pattinson. If you'd like
Oh,
this,
what's your favorite performance?
oh,
That was
my favorite performance. That's a great point. I almost forgot. My favorite performance of Robert Pattinson's, I think, has to be Good Time.
okay.
Yeah, I really love his performance of High Life. I like the movie a little bit less, and
Hmm.
I think that makes it possibly why I like Good Time a little bit more.
Right.
Um, I just like the constant train of thought that he shows through acting in Good Time. Yeah,
For
I think
sure,
Good Time.
100%. For right now, I will say The Lighthouse is my favorite one, just because again, as like my first like Pattinson role, that one has like kind of has stayed with me a bit more. But Good Times obviously an incredible performance, and I think with The Lighthouse, like there are times like a lot of people like praise Defoe's performance, but like there are times where like Pattinson 100% like outacts Defoe, not that Defoe gives a bad performance, and that alone like he's just is able to reach that level and dig deep enough into himself to bring that out. That's what always impressed me about that role in that movie.
Yeah, yeah. I'm excited to see that one. It's on my upcoming list, so I'll get to that soon. But with that, that wraps up our first episode of Spotlight, talking about Robert Pattinson. Thank you guys for watching. If you made it this far into the video, we really appreciate it. Uh, if you have want to comment down below, roast Twilight in the comment section. Feel free to go ahead. Or if you have thoughts on his different films, maybe you don't like his performances as much as we do. Maybe you think we're a little over the top. Maybe he's not a top tier actor, like I'm saying. Definitely let us know. Don't forget to like and subscribe the video. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you next time.